Keith Olbermann and Scott Brown. This actually happened last week, and it went over our heads. For some reason, it wasn't on our radar. Keith Olbermann went on an incredible rant. It's a minute rant where he threw Scott Brown completely under the bus and summed up in what I think is pretty short order every single reason why the election of Scott Brown to the U.S. Senate is concerning. And I'll play it for you. What's funny is that the next day he, quote, apologized for this rant, even though if you listen to it, there's not much of an apology in there. I think he almost reinforced that he believes what he says, but he's sorry if he offended people. Here's the original rant, Keith Olbermann on newly elected Senator Scott Brown.
Lost in the angst about Obama and Coakley is the little recognized real headline of this vote. You have heard Scott Brown speculating, talking out of his bare bottom, about whether or not the President of the United States was born out of wedlock. You have heard Scott Brown respond to the shout from his supporter that they should stick a curling iron into Ms. Coakley's rectum with the answer, "We can do this." You may not have heard Scott Brown support a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage or describing two women having a child as being, quote, just not normal. You may not have heard Scott Brown associating himself with the Tea Party movement, perhaps the saddest collection of people who don't want to admit why they really hate, since the racists of the South in the 60s insisted they were really just concerned about states' rights. You may not have heard Scott Brown voting against funding paid leaves of absence for Massachusetts Red Cross workers who had gone to New York to help after 9/11. In short, in Scott Brown, we have an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, reactionary, ex-new model, teabagging supporter of violence against women and against politicians with whom he disagrees. In any other time in our history, this man would have been laughed off the stage.
Okay, so the next day he apologized for that. You know, the summary to me seems right. He did suggest we need to find out if Barack Obama was born out of wedlock. He wants a constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage. He says two women having a child is just not normal. He doesn't want to pay people from the Red Cross who go to help 9/11 victims in New York. He is, as far as I can tell, an irresponsible, homophobic, racist, ex-nude model, teabagging supporter of violence against women. And you know what? I don't know why Keith Olbermann apologized for that. I know his ratings are down, and I know that it's on MSNBC, but it seems to be factually accurate.
Well, I don't think anyone would get away saying that in a position like his without having to apologize.
At least the apology was kind of one of these non-apologies where he says, if anybody got offended, but what I said does seem to be factually accurate.
I don't think there's any question as to the insincerity of the apology.
So you think it's clear that he didn't mean it at all?
Right.
So why do it at all? Just to please his bosses?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, let me mention before we take our final break, valleyadvocate.com, where whether you live in our part of the country or not, there's a great opportunity for you to help out and vote for the show. If you go to valleyadvocate.com, submit a best of ballot. There's two categories in the media section for TV and radio programs. Put my name in. Put the name Midweek Politics in there. It would be great publicity for the show, and we would very much appreciate it. And I know Lewis doesn't like it when I start plugging stuff, but hey, it'll actually make a big difference for the show if we get listed there. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with more after this, and we'll talk about the verdict for Tiller killer Scott Roeder.